Hey everybody, it's Atheist for the Cause here, and I have an article review for you today about Otto Warmbier because he's the guy who was arrested in North Korea and convicted to 15 years, and then came back, to the U.S. in a coma, and he had been in a coma for a year. And I just want to go over his story, and he recently passed away, and I want to go over his story and why he went to North Korea, what happened to him there, all those kinds of things. Because while the evidence isn't completely clear on everything, there are some, rumors and some evidence that is out there that is worth looking over, and people are making a lot of faulty assumptions. So let's take a look at this. Who is Otto Warmbier, the college student who died after being held prisoner in North Korea? Is by Veronica Bondarenko and David Choi. Now, when authors work together, usually it means that this publication is taking this seriously, and they want and sometimes you'll get like really politically motivated propaganda, but in a situation like this, it really is more about fact finding, because they don't really need to create propaganda. It is a terrible situation. You know what I mean? There's not much reason for propaganda here. So they had two of them working on finding facts. So it says American student Otto Warmbier died Monday afternoon after serving a year of 15-year prison sentence in North Korea and returning home, according to a family statement. Warmbier had reportedly been in a coma for a year and had been in a state of unresponsive wakefulness, his doctor said. For the time being, it is unclear what truly happened during the year Warmbier spent in North Korea, despite the North Korea's account that Warmbier contracted botulism and went into a coma after taking a pill to help him sleep. Now, I actually didn't know that this was the North Koreans' account, and I am not really buying it, given the fact that I don't think they'd give him a pill to sleep, to be honest. And the fact that they use this as an excuse kind of shows, like, this is probably normal for them for their pills and food to get tainted. So it's kind of interesting. Their excuse alone that's likely faulty kind of shows a lot about their country. When Otto returned to Cincinnati, he was unable to speak, unable to see, and unable to react to verbal commands, read a statement the Warmbier family released on Monday. Although we would never hear his voice again, within a day the countenance of his face changed. He was at peace. I find this interesting. I wonder if this is just the family trying to deal with the situation, or, maybe it's actually, I wouldn't be surprised if this was actually accurate, where basically you can kind of be in a coma but still kind of subconsciously perceive the world around you. And I mean, it is interesting that he was in a coma for a year, gets home, and like dies very quickly after. He was home, and we believe he could sense that, the statement continued. Here is what we know about the 22-year-old who spent more than a year imprisoned in North Korea. If any of you are doctors or, have information on, like, if people in comas like this can actually, if going home could have led to his death because he did feel, because he could sense the world around him potentially and know that he was around his family, let me know if you believe that that's true, because I know there are like kind of a home remedy, I guess, is when people are in a coma. It's common for like family members to talk to them, and people I don't know if I don't think it's scientifically proven, but there's basically a hypothesis that hearing like voices that are that you are used to, like helps the neurons and stuff, or the helps your brain basically like grow back together faster. The pathways. So I don't know. I'm not, you know, a scientist by any means, so let me know if you think that's possible. During a study abroad trip to Hong Kong, Otto Warmbier decided to embark on a 5-day tour of North Korea on January 2016. He was convicted of stealing a propaganda poster after a 1-day trial in court. And there was actually like a video of someone tearing down a poster, and it was really hard to see, but it definitely looked like it could have been him. But it wasn't completely clear. Raised in Ohio, Warmbier graduated from high school in 2013 as class salutatorian. He eventually enrolled in the University of Virginia, studying economics and global sustainability. At the University of Virginia, Warmbier was named an Eccles Scholar, an honor awarded to the top 7% of first-year students, according to his LinkedIn page. He also served as alumni chair for the Theta Chi fraternity. And so this is not a dumb guy. And by the way, remember that last video I made on the professor who basically stated, you know, he's one of those rich, spoiled kids that, you know, complains when his grades are bad or whatever. Well, his grades weren't bad. They were always good. So her comments that were extremely stupid from the University of Delaware, they don't even apply to him. And check that video out if you don't know what I'm talking about. After being arrested and convicted, Warmbier was sentenced to 15 years of hard labor. In an emotional statement, he said that he was subjected to the country's fair and square legal procedures. It has yet to be determined if he was coerced by North Korean authorities or if he had delivered a genuine statement. They do have a history of coercing statements, but I'll say that, you know, even if it was fair, there is still, like, we have to look at it twofold. We have to look at, okay, their laws, and then how we think their laws pertain to humanity, basically. So if he broke one of their laws that is reasonable and the punishment is reasonable, he should face the consequences. But if he broke, say he even broke their law, and it's an unreasonable law, then the United States government should try to step in and bring him home, because it's an unreasonable law. And then, although the justification for arresting him is completely there by the government. And then if it's an unreasonable, or if it's a reasonable law with an unreasonable punishment, which is what I think the case is here, I mean, the law is somewhat reasonable, that you can't tear down political posters. So, I mean, that's a reasonable law, given, you know, all things equal. That's basically true here. You can't just go around ripping down political posters. So, you know, but then 15 years of hard labor, I mean, come on, that's inhumane. So that the U.S. government should have tried extremely hard to get him back. And I'm sure they did, but it's not like North Korea is just handing back Americans. These are very valuable assets to them. According to reports, Warmbier had been in a coma for over a year and needed proper medical care. A senior U.S. official also said that the government received reports that Warmbier had been reportedly beaten during his imprisonment. So, there is abuse. I've seen some people try to argue that there wasn't abuse. or there wasn't torture, and there seems to have been some abuse or torture from, you know, what these people, authors, are alleging. And although here their source is the New York Times, so but I think it's probable that he was beaten to at least some extent. Warmbier's family said they received a letter dated March 2nd, 2016, the only correspondence with their son during his 18-month imprisonment. We want the world to know how we and our son have been brutalized and terrorized by the pariah regime, said parents Fred and Cindy Warmbier in a statement. So the family alleges that they were also brutalized and terrorized, and I don't know if they're saying this because of what happened to their son, or if there was direct contact between the government and the parents. I'm guessing it was former. After an emergency U.S. North Korea meeting in New York, plans for Warmbier's return were finalized. President Donald Trump delegated a State Department envoy and medical personnel to bring Warmbier home. People believed to be family members embraced next to the medical transport plane. So there they are. Before he was transferred into an awaiting ambulance. Man, I can't even imagine that. North Korean officials maintained they had footage of Warmbier stealing a propaganda poster and called his act hostile. Officials also claimed that Warmbier had acted under the direction of a church in Ohio. This is where things start getting really interesting, folks. I'm going to start over. North Korean officials maintained they had footage of Warmbier stealing a propaganda poster and called his act hostile. If you go back far enough in my videos, I actually show the video where that they're talking about. Officials also claim that Warmbier had acted under the direction of a church in Ohio. This is really interesting. I had no idea until I read this article, which they allege operates under the ruse of a secret university organization and the CIA. Now, of course, this opens up all kinds of, you know, were they actually operating with the CIA? Were they actually a university organization that was some sort of secret organization? I mean, they say a ruse, but is the CIA just trying to cover their tracks at this point? I mean, all of a sudden, conspiracy theories are gonna go wild, but I mean, how do we know? You know, at this point, there's just not enough evidence. But for people who want to look into this, definitely this would be something interesting to look into. But it's also very possible. Don't just assume that it was, you know, a CIA operation, because it's very possible that it was a ruse. I mean, taking down political posters seems pretty stupid if you're an undercover CIA agent, you know, like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like something the CIA would do. Warmbier passed away on Monday afternoon. It would be easy at a moment like this to focus on all that we lost. Future time that, oh, by the way, up here, you know, is this religiously motivated, or, I don't know. There's more to this story here. I don't know what it is, but there's more. And the article here, or the source here, is CNN, so. Warmbier passed away on Monday afternoon. It would be easy at a moment like this to focus on all that we lost. Future time and won't be spent with a warm, engaging, brilliant young man whose curiosity and enthusiasm for life knew no bounds. But we chose to focus on the time we were given to be with this remarkable person. Read a statement from the Warmbier family. So, you know, obviously that's pretty sad what happened to him. But no matter how it happened. But there is a couple, interesting leads for citizen investigators out there, especially this one. And I may investigate this further myself. Depends on how much time I have and how much time it takes. But, for those of you who do investigate different things, then I would definitely think that you might be interested in this. So, have a good one, guys, and there has been a lot of misinformation out there about Otto Warmbier, and I believe this to be pretty accurate information here. So